Hey, it's JavaFX Student here, and this is gonna be my live stream showcasing me creating a Hangman game. So, this is live for now, and this will be uploaded to YouTube after. So you might watch it live, or you might be watching on YouTube. We'll see. But firstly, I'm in an old project, and I will need to create a new Java project. So I'll just go new project. I would do a JavaFX. I'm just gonna be working on JavaFX version 15. That's what I've been doing usually. There's a newer version actually now, 16, but for now I'm just using 15. It works fine, so I got no reason to update, at least for now. So I just started my new JavaFX. So the first things we all we need to do is I need to add my VM options, which is like specific. Where did it go? There is a way we need to specify where our JavaFX components are on our computer. So I'll just simply add my VM options, apply, add them, and I need to find them inside my libraries as well. So I'll just find it. And if you don't know how to do this, I have a video on my channel you can find actually showcasing how to set up JavaFX. Yes, but so now I have a JavaFX that should work. Let's try. And there we go. We have a working version of JavaFX with Java. So I'm first going to do a few setup things I usually do. I'll remove the predefined size of the scene. I would open it in Scene Builder. Which always takes a few seconds. There we go. And I would then remove the grid pane, which is like the basic setup mechanism. And I would add an anchor pane. That's what I like to work with, because it's quick and easy. It's definitely not good for bigger projects, but for a small project like this, we're just going to create a simple Hangman game. Should be fine. And remember to connect with the controller. This. And let's try running it again. And we have a working window, which now is connected to my scene builder. So what I would usually do first is add all the JavaFX components and then work with the Java code to connect it and get it working after. So firstly, I would just add a few things. So let me just think. We're doing a Hangman game. There's probably quite a few different ways we can do it, but what I am gonna do is I would just use a text area where, based I'm using like ASCII, so just like normal characters, I have already pre-created these different Hangman states. We'll just have an empty one with just the head a body, one arm, two arms, and legs. And this is what we're gonna just add to our text area to showcase like the lives you have in the Hangman game. And if you don't know, the Hangman game is just very simply where we have a word and we need to guess this word by guessing one character at a time. So for example, if the word was man, M-A-N, and I said M, that would be correct, I would get the M, A, correct, get the A. That D is not a part of the man word, then I would lose or gain a body part. So I'll change from just being an empty one to be like a hangman with just a head. And it's kind of just defining the lives of the hangman. So we like, every time we get something wrong, we add a body part to the man that's being hanged. It's actually kind of brutal, but that's the concept. More or less just a guessing game of guess a word. Every time you guess a wrong character, you lose a life. That's the basics of it. So we're going to have this hangman, which is going to be inside my text view, text area. So I'm just going to add it, give it an ID and just call it Hangman text area. So it's nice and clear, defined. I would then need some kind of input. Let's just do a text field where we can have a guess. Let's add some text. Hey, I can see we're someone here with us live. Fire Water, welcome. Yeah, it's definitely awesome. Always. So I don't know if you heard, but I am doing a basic Hangman game, and I'm just getting started working inside Scene Builder, setting up the basic components, and then I'm afterwards going to connect them with Java code. So I have an area for my Hangman. I have a text area for the guess, and we're going to have some kind of text input. That's probably not the best way of doing it, but text input. And let me just think if I actually need anything else though. So I would like one player. So I would like to create it, kind of make it multiplayer. So first, we can have one player input, like the word that needs to be guessed, and then we have all the other players guess the words by typing in one letter at a time. So I would also need some kind of button. I think that's the easy way. Just let's call it enter. So we would enter some text, and then I would need some kind of text area where I will showcase the word. So this is definitely not the finished setup, but for now I'm just adding the basic component and I'll make something that should work at least. And I'd like to do it in a way where we have a... Let's just set it up and see how it goes. So on action, we're just gonna call it get text input. And we're just gonna call this one our text for the word. And a smart feature of Scene Builder, you can just click View, Show Sample Controller Skeleton, and now I can copy all the components and have it connected directly with my controller, which makes it quite easy to actually get it working. And another little shortcut. So in JavaFX, this is actually IntelliJ. When I'm working specifically in IntelliJ, when you have something like this, an error, or it's asking or telling us something's wrong, like I actually spelled guess incorrectly. That's nice. So we need to do refactor to make sure it's also changed inside the scene builder. Like that. But my point, let's say we have action event. This means we haven't imported what we actually need to import yet. So instead of right-clicking, show context action, import class, we just want to use the keyboard. I can hold down Alt and Shift, and then I can already choose between the imports. So this way allows me to skip a few steps because it knows that it's missing an import, and Alt Shift is kind of like a shortcut to get into the, whatever we're doing in this code, importing something. And in this case, we are working in JavaFX, so I would need to import the JavaFX thing. Because the other one is something AWG. I actually don't know what that is, but import the action event for JavaFX. And for now, I would just create a variable. So whenever we get some kind of word, so I'm actually just going to call it the word. That's probably not the best naming convention, but so let's say every time we start the game, we need a word for the people to guess in the Hangman game. So I'm just going to create a private string word, which for now is just going to be nothing, so it's null. But just think, because you only need to do this at the beginning of the game. So we either need to create multiple inputs, or we need to check a reset. I think that's fine. So what I'm thinking about now is that whenever we start the game, because I want to use the same text input for both the word that needs to be guessed and for the characters we're guessing along when playing the game. So we need to be able to check if we're at the beginning of the game or we're actually playing the game. And how I'd like to do it is very simply just define that at the beginning of the game we know the word is null. So if our word, and because it's a string, I would do equals null. Let's actually see if there's a, and now it's just telling us that the always going to be false. So if it's null, we would have our word be set to word would be equal to the text in our guess. The naming convention is not that good in this, but guess dot get text. And is it always going to be false? Let me think. It shouldn't be, right? Guessing something. We'll see. That's kind of also like programming. I'm just doing stuff and it might work. It might not, and we'll just fix it along the way. But for now, if the word equals null, we would get the word. Else, we'll play the game. So for now, I'm just gonna print playing just to actually check it works. Let's actually see we have everything in here. We do. So now, let's say it's the beginning of the game. I would input a word. So I'll just go test. I would enter. And it doesn't work. Let's see why it work. Point. Does it not work with equals? Because we need to do this. Well, that kind of makes sense. We can't do that equals when it's null, because then we're technically checking on nothing. Yes, that makes sense. So what we need to do is actually check double equal signs. Pretty sure the other thing would work, but that's fine. So we need to manually check. We need to actually just use double equal signs to check if it's null. So for now, this variable is null. It doesn't exist. I would put in test. I would enter this variable. So now, say someone else guessed A, we'd be playing and we would be able to get the letter A. This works. Oops. So whenever we made our guess, we would like to just remove the text from our guess because no one else will see what's actually being input. So we just do guess dot clear. And we can stop the game. So I would input test. So everyone else shouldn't be looking right now. But input test, it disappears. And now the game knows that the word we're looking for is word. So whenever we've been inputting the beginner word, we would like to actually do some stuff. We would like to have this word put into our text for word as dots, just to showcase how many letters the word contain. So I would do a public void method to do all the setup for the word. So I would just do public void setup word, and we can either give it the word or we can just do it more statically, kind of, but yeah, this is fine for now. So we just set up the word, we just call a method, it just very simply checks, like the word, and get the size. So I would have an integer word length be equal to my word dot length, and then we do it for each, and then word length is, I don't know, we could also take the word and replace all the letters, dots, and then just take this one and put into the text. What I'm doing now is just finding how long is the word, and then for each letter in the word, write a dot. I don't know if this is a good way. Might be overkill, honestly. But let's just do it. It's a bit overkill, but it's fine. So we got string weird. Need to be a string builder because we're building a string. Then a secret word dot add dot. This is definitely overkill. Yeah, probably better just do a string builder. And then appended. Yeah, I think it's better. And then at the end we would set our text for word dot set text to our secret word. And get the string value. It's technically the same as string value in a string builder. The string builder just allows us to add characters one by one like this. So now we have a setup where I can first add a text. So I would go test. And I forgot to actually call the method. So of course nothing is happening. So whenever we input a word, we would like to set up our word. We can simply go test, enter, and now we have a showcase that our word contains 4 letters, like this. And now we just need to make a process where if I check using A, for example, it would say either correct and then add the letter A to our string if A is actually inside our word. Otherwise, we'll start building our hangman. So our hangman, let's do a bit of that setup to get it into our text area. So I already pre-built or pre-designed based on some inspiration online our hanged man. So let's see where we should add him. Let's add him here. So this is our hanged man. And we are using an array list. It's containing and 3 quotes means that this is like a text area. So we can actually do spaces, which allow us to create something that's a bit nicer. And at the beginning of the game, to have something happen at the beginning of the game, or in this case, whenever we load the scene, I can implement something called initializable, which is just have a look at what it actually is. It's an interface that simply defines that we need to have an initialize statement, which as mentioned is a method called when the scene is done loading. I will just get it down here. So whenever we start the game or load the scene, we would actually like our hangman text area to reset the text of our, let's see if I can remember, hangman lives dot get the first part, the empty one, empty hangman. I think it's called a gale. Yes. So let's see if it works. Does. And it is looking a bit funny. It's actually not inputting it completely correctly, which is a bit annoying. I think the problem might be that in IntelliJ, each space, as we can see, is actually quite bigger, it's wider. A space in IntelliJ is about the same size as an equal signs, where inside our text area, our spaces are more or less nothing. They're actually quite small. So we need like 3 to have the same size. That's a bit annoying. Probably I tested that first, but let me see how it actually looks with some of the other ones. Let's just do 4. Well, it actually looks I don't know how it looks. Funny at least. Doesn't really look like a man being hung, but concept is still there. So I think the best option is either just add like a bunch of spaces. Oh, we need to define using code how it should specifically be drawn. Let's just try. Just adding like 5. 5. Well, I guess this is also part of programming, that sometimes programs look a bit different. Oh, I forgot, I need to showcase that I want to look at the first one then. It's better. And of course, we don't need to move the top one this much. Hmm. This is also, it's actually not too bad. Also, what I love about programming, the trial and error. Like, it's very clear when I'm doing something that right away it's wrong. Oh, I know it's wrong. And then I'm able, at least most of the time, to fix it. Maybe. Someone's saying that maybe just use text instead of a text area. You might be right, actually. Let's try it. I don't even know why I wanted to do a text area, because the text area, I would probably just do a text area and just remove it being editable. So it doesn't really have any point of doing a text area. Let's try doing this one instead. So I would just change the ID. And I would just make sure that it is no longer a text area, it is just text. I think that's the same problem. Try doing 5 again, because the first one I kind of fixed. Yeah. It's the same problem. But you're definitely right, it's better with the text area, it looks more clean. So we're gonna add this one there, let's make it a bit bigger. I don't know, I know... If you know what it's supposed to be, I guess you can kinda see it. But again, it's just a demo. It's just a showcase that it works. It's not really the point that needs to be beautiful. But again, if it looks like this, it's a bit annoying. Font size, maybe. We have like a million options. Anything we know, Arial. Know that one. Let me check it in here though. But in here, do a space. Still very small. Spaced. It's spaced. Oh my god. Fire water your lifesaver. We just fix this then. I don't know if you saw it, but it actually worked. I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I am definitely amazed. I don't know, I'm speechless. That's... It actually looks pretty good as well. Make it a bit bigger, but... There we go. Thank you very much. Firewater, thank you. Well, let's keep going. So, at the beginning, we set it to just be the first Hangman lives, which I have defined. We then need to do some kind of check inside our get text input that now we're no longer setting up the game. We're now playing the game. So let's actually move it around a bit because I input initialize a bit late. And normally we would like to see initialize being the first method in the setup because we're technically setting it up first. We're initializing first. Well, in Java, it doesn't matter because of the way Java works. It doesn't really matter where we have our methods, but I think it just looks a bit cleaner at least when we start when initialized. But let's not hang too much with that. So whenever we're done setting up our word, we would now like to play the game. So let's create a new method called, let's just call it play turn. So whenever we are playing and having a turn, we would like to activate it here. We'd call play turn. And what we would like to do first is we would like to get the word that's being guessed. So I would do a string guess, which is gonna be our guess. And then because we're actually naming it the same, we need to use this dot guess, because in Java, this allows us access something outside our method. In this case, we're able to call our string value guess and call our text field guess because we're using this dot get text. And it can of course be debated somewhat. Some people think that it's the better way to use this and then call things the same, because then we have like one version, one name. Other people say it's more confusing because then we have two guesses. We technically have a guess inside our method now and a guess outside our method, which is up to you what you want to do. But I like using this because then it's like the same, and we know it's clearly defined that the variable name guess is the guess. So we have our guess, and we would then like to check if our guess and our text and our word contains each other. So if I remember correctly, this have been a while though, so we can do an if statement. If word dot contains yes, and if I remember correctly, we should simply be able to use this Java concept that allow us to check if this specific word or string or characters is inside our word, and we need to be exact. So in this case, if it's inside, we need to find which positions is, because it's pretty easy if we just have one letter, but in the case of two letters, we might come into some trouble. So we need to find where. So let's say we are working with the word test and the input the T. We can't just say showcase the T. We would like to say showcase the first letter, and or with another part in Java, the beauty of strings in Java is that the strings are indexed. So we can technically find that our T is in the first or the 0th and the 3rd position, and then simply in our dotted version of the word, tell it to have the first letter be set to T and the third letter be set to T, and then save it. Is we actually saving? We might not be. Let's see if we're actually saving our secret word. I'd actually like to save this one. Then we could just keep working on it. And it's definitely not going to be final. It should work. Let's see. So, if our word contains guess. So, if our word contains the letter we are looking for, well, there's another problem. Technically, they can input more than one letter. And they probably should be able to, but not really. Because they need to be able to guess the word. But they also shouldn't be able to get multiple letters. Again, when doing something like this, I can either make checks and check that they're doing the right thing and define stuff, or for now we can just assume that people are playing the game correctly. That's the easy way of doing it. So, if the word contains guess, we would like to find the positions our guess is inside our word. So I would like to have a list. So we have an array list containing integers, containing the positions of our correct words if they exist. And we would just simply go through our, let's say this one is also not saved, locally a logo. Go through each letter in the word, again only if it contains, and we would just simply check if our, and another beauty of Java, we can simply do if word 0, I think. Or maybe not, because it's a string builder. Pro and cons of using a string builder. Is it get? No. Array type expected found Java. Well, then we could do this in Java, but we might not be able to. And I have my trusty helper, Google, because I can't remember and can't bother to do it manually. So we do Java turn string into char array, which is also kind of the beauty of coding. We actually don't even need to do it all. It's fast doing it. So we can do a char array called word chars, and it's gonna be equal to our word dot. It's gonna be interesting if we can do it dot char array like that. So now we have all our characters from our word inside an array, and we can then simply check if the first letter using our for each loop, or not for each for I loop, if our word chars first position equals our guess. And now we're gonna have a problem because one's a char, one's a string. We don't want our guess to be a char. And we just typecast. I don't think it's possible. Then we need to do something like string dot character chart value. It works. Again, can't remember. Just go Java. String char. At 0. That's an interesting way of doing it. So we're only looking at the first input, which I guess is okay. So if they input multiple characters, we're only looking at... No, that's not good. Oh, it is. It isn't. It is. It is if we do a check first. If our word dot equals our yes. We just go game1. So in the situation where the word just equals the guess, we just equal... In this case, for now, we just print the game1. And then it shouldn't be a problem because we would never... And we would just like to return. So we would never get into this position if it's over. Let's check that works first at least. So now we can win the game technically now. So if I input test, and then test again, got game1. That works. But for now, if I input test with T, we're just playing, but nothing happens because we are printing playing every time we play a turn. So, what were we doing? Yeah, we were checking, we're finding all the positions where our word or where our character is inside our word we are looking at. And we would just simply add the positions to our positions arrays. We do positions dot add our I, which is going to be our position. And for now, let's just to see if it works. So if we do test and then do T, we get way more than I would like. Oh, checking is correct. Builds, I did something wrong. And another point about programming, test your code, always. Oh, it's because I'm actually just checking that the first is first. It should be if word chars equals to I. So before we're just checking the first one, so we're just checking if T is inside. We're just checking if T was the first letter 4 times. I don't even know what that means. Server warning. A bit scary. On that break. What am I missing? Insane scarce. Plus, we check if words 0 equal to a guess chart 0. Oh, we're adding this no matter what. We're not checking anything, we're actually just doing it every time. That's definitely a problem. So we actually need to add a for loop. And this one is also wrong. I'm setting it right now. I should not be setting anything. I should be checking. There we go. So now, in the case where this one equals this one, we add the position. Before we were doing all kind of weird stuff. Test, C, 0 and 3. Perfect, it works. God. So now what we would like to do, we have the position and we have the character. So now we just like to add the character to our secret word. Or maybe just create a new, no, we need to add it because otherwise we can't do multiple letters that we would rewrite every time. And our secret word. Character, word, just word. We would just like to add it the positions of our. Pretty sure we can do this. What did I call it? Secret. So we would do secret word dot set char at index. And first we have the index. So we would simply do another loop for each. I like my for each loops. Probably way too much, to be honest. So I'll just do for each position. So I do positions dot for each. Then I would do position lambda expression. I honestly don't know if this even is a lambda expression. I was taught this as a lambda expression, and I would call it a lambda expression, but IntelliJ doesn't seem to call it a lambda expression, so I actually don't know if it's actually called a lambda expression. But that's a talk another day. I would then just take this and set the char at position. I think we did position first, right? So we're doing first index and the char, so at char position, comma, and then our. Yes, at char 0. Maybe we should actually just check this first, so we would actually just get our char. Not what it's called. Oh, it's not a capital G. So char. That I guess gonna be equal. And if it contains our oh, it needs to be a char sequence. It needs to be that one. And down here I would remove without letter. I can't remember if that's spelled correct, but whatever. Letter S, and we will then take our like this. And we will then simply update our our text for word dot set text our value. Let's see if it works. Perfect. E an S, and I'll go, oh, of course, that's test. Same one. So this works. I could probably think up a better way. I don't know if this is the best way of doing it. We're doing quite a few checks and checks. But I don't know, I kind of like it. It is okay, I think. So now we need to do something else though, in case it's not containing. So else. So in all the situations where we don't actually have guessed correctly, we need to update our Hangman lives XG. That is. Oh, it's this one. Doesn't need an ID. Oh. So we need to know where are we actually at in the game. So I'll just very simply add a private int. Let's just call it lives. And it's probably a live position. But first we are at 0 positioned regarding our live position. Let's see how many lives do we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So at first we need to do live position 0. And let's see, inside initialize, where we're forcing it to 0, we would start doing a live position. But first we're just doing the first one. And so if we lose, we just simply do our Hangman text area dot set text to be our the same we did. So Hangman lives dot get live position plus 1. And this is gonna be interesting because I can't never remember this. Do T, that's correct. Do A, that's wrong. Do A, that's wrong. So we need to do the other way. So depending if we add the pluses before or after, the 1 is added either before or after the rest of the actions are executed. So if I do it before, now I'm adding the 1 before actually updating the text area. So it needs to be before like this. So now we can actually play the game. And it should work. I can do test. I can do T. I can do S. I can do A. I can do B. I can do, oh my god, I'm losing. I can do L. I can do U. I can do L again. Would be pretty bad. We already guessed that one. We'll do B. And I think that's it. And the game would technically be over. Yes. And we would simply like to check. So after adding the last leg, we'll simply do if our live pass is equal to 6. Should be, because we are doing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Simply print. Game over. And let's remove the playing. So we're no longer just printing playing whenever we play a turn. And it works. And another thing that's quite nice about IntelliJ, it gives quite often suggestions if something is easier or proper. For example, whenever we were doing each character in our word, put a dot. We can, instead of doing like a for loop, we can actually use something called a repeat statement, where we do secret word dot append, and then we're appending with a dot or a multiplication sign. and then repeating for the word length. So for the amount of length in a word, which we already found, yeah. Guess that's a bit cleaner. So what do we want to do when we win or lose? We would probably like to have something change. Let's just do it the easy way. I like just adding some text, random text. Just call end of text. Let's add a button. Set. And I'll just bring these into my. First, I have my reset button. Just gonna add that button. And I have my end of game. And then in case if the game is 1, instead of printing game 1, I would do end of game test.seg text 1. And over. When resetting, there's also kind of interesting parts where we need to remember like everything we're doing, everything we set up. So what do we need to reset? We need to reset the secret word to nothing, because we are checking whenever the secret word is nothing, we start the game. We would have our oh, first thing we do when we reset the game, we would, this shouldn't be changed, text for word shouldn't be changed, end of game text should be set. I remember all this stuff. Let's just actually play the game. Oh, I would like that one be blank. This one should probably be. Let's go input a word. So I would just go, let's do something new. Let's do house. Now dog. And one dog. Now we've got 3 letters. When I click reset, if I now input a new word, oh, we're not doing a lot of stuff. Secret word needs to be null. Maybe not. Word needs to be null, of course. And we would like our. Should technically work. It's gonna make a few mistakes, but long one, reset, test, like that. I need to do a lot of checks. It's a bit annoying. One of the main things, not setting it up probably. Just do it quickly. Hangman text area. So we need to set the type 0. Sorry, and then set lives at 0. We need to have our when are we setting a secret word? First time. How are we defining a secret word? We're actually defining it as null. And then at some point, whenever we call setup word, what we're doing when it's null, so it should also be null. I definitely do not like the setup, but it should work. Test the oh, I got tests. 1, yay. We start over, we go dog. A lot of mistakes. This secret word is null. That's actually very interesting if that's the case. String builder is actually just set to be nothing. That's interesting. I definitely do not know enough about append string builders. That I just set the text of a string builder. What's beautiful thing about IntelliJ, I can just do dot and then just look at all the stuff actually coming up. And have a look at all the things that might be doable. So right now we're using what's called a string builder, which is normally used to like add stuff. But now we'd like to reset stuff. And it might actually not like that. Might work kind of like a stack. Let's move to trusty Google. That's a stupid way of doing it, but I guess that's necessary. So we just set the length for string build to 0, which kinda makes it empty, but let's actually have a look at what a string builder is. So in IntelliJ, if you hold down Control and click on something, we can actually go into the class, and now we can actually look specifically at what is a string builder. And it is contains, let's see, how does it actually contain our capacity? So it has a capacity, and when we append, oh, that's too many steps. I cannot be bothered. Let's just see if it works. We do a test. We do T, we do reset, we do dog. Do D, we do O. G, dog. It works, it resets. We do test. Get a wrong letter, H. It resets the lives as well. I can input a new word. Another problem right now, it's not very clear. There's no instructions, which is one thing that's actually quite important to understand when creating anything, when programming. That I've been building this myself. I know how it works. I know precisely how it works. I'm working the code. But if anyone else came and were playing this program, at least at the state of it right now, they would probably be very confused. And that's why we're doing user test. It's very important to do user tests when creating anything. So if I wanted to make this more like a finished project, I'd probably add a lot of text explaining what to do, a start screen. I might add some changing text, so at the beginning of the input a word. We technically had that. It's a bit funky for now, but input a word, you input a word. But again, it's a simple game. It's fine for now. I'm not gonna change it any more. There's a few other problems I can think of now, but I think this is gonna be more or less the version I wanna stick to. Because capital letters right now is kind of like a big problem. Because if I did test, the capital T, and then did T, it won't actually get the first one. But then I can either just make the capital T when getting the input like a small t, so we don't have any capital letters at all. Or I can just make sure that it actually doesn't matter if it's capital or not, so it just checks anyway. It's just a few other extra checks, which I'm not gonna add for now. So this is more or less what I wanted. It's working. There's a few things, because I guess we're still at least one person left. Thing you might have noticed, I think was quite funny and interesting, is that in Java, in creating like backspace, because we can do like the backspace to the right or to the left, this one is an escape character. So if we just did the escape character, we wouldn't see it, but we would just escape one of the empty spaces. So we're doing two escape characters to escape the escapeness of the first escape character. Which might seem a bit confusing, but if we just did one, we wouldn't get anything. We wouldn't be able to make this right arm. But with two, we are escaping, and then this one is escaping anything. I hope it kind of makes sense. Because it's kind of like important to notice. It's definitely if you're working with any kind of strings or something, definitely at some point if you're working with like URLs, web pages and stuff, that this is an escape character. So if I just one of it hit one here, for example, we get an error because I'm escaping something, and it doesn't like that inside string break like this. But that was more or less the Hangman game I want to create, and I'm very glad we got it working. I don't know if you're still here, Firewater, but thank you very much for your help. You definitely made it quite a bit easier to get this working, and I'm glad we did. Otherwise, I hope everyone watching enjoyed, and I just wish you all a wonderful